Hello and welcome to the Acting Coach Network podcast. I'm your host, Savanna Madden, acting coach, award-winning theatre school owner and confidence coach for small business owners who want to grow their businesses with confidence, resilience and to step into their CEO mindset without burning out. Today's episode is a little different. Last week, it was a reflective episode because of the year that we had and we talked about the goals we were going to set for 2026. This is also going to be a reflective episode, but just in a bit of a different way. Because after 40 weeks of podcasting, this is my final episode under the Acting Coach Network name. I wanted to take a moment to pause, to look back properly, and to acknowledge what this podcast has been, what it has meant to me, what it has given me, and what I'm excited for as we move forwards to launch a brand new podcast next month. When I launched this podcast, I didn't have a big strategic plan. I'll be honest with you. I didn't really know where it would lead. I didn't really know what I needed in terms of creativity in my life or in my business. I was looking for something that felt aligned with what my mission was. And podcasting for me has become a space where I can think out loud, experiment with asking better questions, have deep conversations, because if you've been listening for a while, you might know that I'm not one for small talk. I like to get right in there to the nitty-gritty, ask the really deep questions as quickly as possible. And what it's really shown me is how much I have found this creatively fulfilling. I started off my career years and years ago as a dancer and an actor. I've worked in presenting. I've worked on stage, I've worked on screen, and then I opened up my theatre school almost 8 years ago now. And having this platform whilst being a coach for so many years, it has allowed me to have that creative fulfillment, which has been utterly incredible. This whole season, the last sort of year, as I've had this podcast, a lot of my energy was going into building and holding businesses, teams, other people, leadership, managing others. So it's given me a way to use my voice in a way that felt expressive, expansive, rather than feeling like a bit exhausting. And podcasting has taught me so much, and I really didn't expect it. The first one being consistency. I have shown up every week doing this podcast with a break in between seasons for possibly 1 or 2 weeks, and that is it. But during those downtimes, I've still been recording. I just haven't necessarily put anything out. And showing up consistently every week has built my confidence, which has shown me again about how consistency is key and about how pushing yourself out of your comfort zone is the way to really find improvements and to really make traction on your goals. And repetition is just key for building confidence and resilience. It doesn't necessarily have to be anything big. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but just putting one foot in front of the other and keeping on going and being consistent and repeating is how we build these skills. The second one is storytelling. Podcasting has sharpened my ability to tell the truth clearly. I think it's helped me not over-explain myself too much, maybe, possibly. Over-justifying, being a little bit performative. I definitely think I've brought my performing arts skills into the podcast, but I hope it hasn't overshadowed it. I also think it's improved my listening skills, where I have enjoyed listening so much to other people's stories, opinions, ideas. It has been life-changing. And the third one is connection. First of all, connecting with so many other like-minded people has been wonderful. It has been so rewarding, exciting, and just unimaginable. I've made new connections. I've rekindled connections that maybe had become a little bit weaker. I have connected with people that I speak to on a regular basis, but the podcast has allowed us to have a different type of conversation. It's been just awesome. I think I'm running out of adjectives. And on my solo episodes, even when I've been speaking into the microphone alone, just like I am now, I never feel like I'm alone. I never feel like I'm talking to myself. Not that that would be a bad thing. I never feel that I'm just speaking into a void, because I have really connected with people who listen through messages, conversations, feedback I've received, and that has mattered to me the most. I also wanted to take a moment to reflect back on all the brilliant conversations that I've had on this particular podcast and share one or two, maybe three, let's say three, of my favourite moments. There has been so many, but these ones have maybe stuck with me the most. And then I have mentioned these things to other people from my learnings and hopefully helped spread another message to a further field, as it were. And the first one is from my first guest episode with Lee Elloway, who is actually a fantastic friend of mine. He is a therapist, he's a counsellor, and he predominantly does work with people in the performing arts. And he shared an analogy of boundaries, and it wouldn't matter what sector you work in, this would apply to anybody. And it was the analogy of the garden fence gate, where he talks about a boundary being like a garden fence, and it has a door in it that symbolises a gate. And you can open this door, and it has a handle on both sides, but particularly it has a handle on your side, and only you are in charge of whether you open that door to allow that person to kind of come across the boundary, because you have set that precedent, you have made those rules, as it were, and you get to decide whether you open the gate or not. And that image really helped me visualize how I see boundaries and how I put them in place, and things that I've then spoken to really openly to other people, and not thinking of it as a wall that like no one can come through it, but there is just options there, and it's a conscious choice. My second standout moment was from Matt Zena, the one and only Matt Zena, who's actually been on this podcast twice. I think it was in the second episode that he said this, but I might be wrong. I didn't actually go back and look or find out or listen. It's something that's etched in my memory. And we talked about building businesses, and we talked about recruiting a team and delegation and working with other people and finding those people for your business. And the thing that he said to me that stood out the most was that you only have to find people that are 80% invested in your business. You are highly unlikely to find people that are 100% invested in your business, because it's not their business. And that's totally fair enough, isn't it? You know, it's not their business. It's your business. It's your baby. So if you can find people who are maybe even 70%, 70 to 80% invested in your business, and they really care about it, then you're really on to a winner. And that also helped me give myself permission to stop expecting such perfectionism from others and from other people who work in my businesses, and to build teams based on that has really, really helped me, and has helped my mentorship within my team for my performing arts business this year particularly. And it also made me think about collaborations in an even bigger sense as well, about how there are so many people out there to collaborate with. And then most recently, just before Christmas, I released an episode with Chrissy Monaghan. And she spoke really powerfully about her sort of tagline, which is mission, vision, values. And that really landed with me. I've worked with Chrissy for quite a long time now. I've known her for a while, and she has been talking about that for a long time. However, it really hit me in that podcast episode, because she was talking about stepping out of your comfort zone. And I've talked about that a lot on this podcast, and I talk about it when I go on to podcasts as well. And I do definitely think that I am somebody that is proficient, shall we say, at stepping out of the comfort zone. But it's, of course, a scary, scary thing to do. But her phrase was, if you always do what you've always done, you're going to get the same results. And I think it's very similar to the definition of insanity, of when, if you just keep on repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, you know, I think it's sort of very, very similar. So this one obviously relates a little bit better to business, in terms of, if you always do the same thing and you're always getting the same results, but you don't want those same results, then it's obviously time to switch things up. Maybe look at your mission, maybe look at your vision, maybe look at your values and think about how you can start to take that first step out of the comfort zone to push yourself, to propel yourself forward for the next stage in your business. And that conversation definitely landed at exactly the right moment for me, because it was just before Christmas. It was back in December, and I was thinking ahead to what was going to be happening for me this next 12 months. And I want to also come back to the fact of gratitude. Another thing I talk about a lot is being grateful, just even for the really, really small things. I think being grateful for the small things actually is more important than being grateful for the really big things, because they are sometimes the things that we take for granted the most. But what I want to focus on right now is saying thank you to you. Thank you if you have listened to this podcast, whether you've listened to one episode or all, there's nearly 40 of them. I just wanted to say thank you. I want to say thank you to every single guest who has come on the show, trusted me with their stories and insights. Thank you for showing up so generously and honestly and sharing your wonderful wisdom with everybody listening. And I just want to repeat, thank you to the listeners for being here, for sharing episodes, for commenting, for liking, for messaging me privately, being part of this journey. And yes, this chapter is closing, but there is also something that is coming next. Nothing about this work is ending. Next week, I will have one final guest episode releasing as a bit of a Brucey bonus. I really don't want you to miss it. It is going to be absolute gold. And I'm so excited for you to hear who that is going to be. After that, I'll just be taking a short pause. There'll just be a couple of weeks where there won't be any episodes released. And then in February, this podcast will relaunch in a brand new form with a new focus, new branding, new photos, and with me stepping a little bit more fully into the work I have pivoted into over the last few months. It's still around confidence. It's still around resilience, leadership. I'll be talking about transformations, burnout, finding that voice, taking up space, and really stepping into that CEO identity. The heart of the conversations will absolutely stay the same. Just the audience I will be speaking to will be a bit broader. So it won't just be aimed at purely performing arts professionals. My focus is to aim this new podcast at women in business. However, men are always welcome in my world, but female founders, women in business, and female entrepreneurs. And I'm just so excited. I'm so excited for what is to come next. I cannot wait to bring you along for the ride. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. I'll see you really soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Acting Coach Network podcast. If you loved what you heard, make sure you're following. And if you've got a moment, I'd love you to leave a quick review or share the episode with someone else who might need it. You can find me on Instagram at I am Savanna Madden. And if you prefer watching conversations, all the video episodes are available on my YouTube channel. Just search for Savanna Madden and hit subscribe to join us there too. And if you're looking for support to grow your business, I offer 3-month one-to-one coaching programs where we get to the bottom of what you most need help with in your business. And you can also find my latest free resource in the show notes. I'll be back soon with more real conversations, expert insights, and tools to help you build a business you love. Until next time, keep going, stay kind to yourself, and I will see you very soon.